For these two, Berlin is a big adventure. Frank Kalenzinje is a tax official back home in Malawi, and Londiwe Koza works in the South African Finance Ministry. Today, they're tourists. But actually, they're here in the German capital to study, chosen by a panel of judges.
It was a dream come true, and more especially for me, this was my first time to get out of our country. And of all places, coming to Berlin in Germany, it was one of the best things that has ever happened to me in my life.
They're here in Berlin for a year and a half on a postgraduate course in tax law. It's been something of a culture shock.
I think there is a bit of like a coldness. Maybe I just don't have a right word for it. Because like in Africa, we're just jolly, we loud, we warm, And here there is that keeping to yourself, and it's sometimes it's not that easy. I think especially with the older generation. This is quite good.
The next morning at the Berlin School of Economics and Law, 27 Africans from 13 countries are in the program. It's subsidized by the German government. Back home, the students work for tax and fiscal authorities. Their professor says this master's degree course should prepare them to deal with international tax law.
For instance, taxation of cross-border transactions. Many of them have never had anything to do with international taxation. They're hearing about it for the first time. And some who deal with corporate taxation don't know about income tax. So it's important for them to work in groups or with case studies, also to find out how it is in other African countries.
If you tax both, then you have a double taxation.
How do you tax an employee who lives in one country and works in another? Many of the students think taxes need to lose their bad reputation. Londiwe Koza says that in many countries, they're often equated with corruption.
Corruption is a big issue everywhere, not just in South Africa. I think that we need to make people understand what's happening with their tax money. I think from a government perspective, we need to start educating people in terms of how we're spending the money and where the money actually goes to, just to ensure that people who actually receive the money are actually spending it for the right cause.
Most of the people back home, they have a negative perception of taxation, and therefore, in the end, we have low compliance. They simply think taxes are just a form of government stealing from people. They do not appreciate the fact that taxes are for them.
When they're not studying, their thoughts are often with their families and friends at home. Keeping in touch is sometimes difficult because the internet doesn't always work.
No, it's not coming up. It's very frustrating, because you just want to talk and share experiences with everyone at home, find out how everyone is doing at home, and so sometimes it's a bit tough.
It's my girlfriend. This is a typical...
On the one hand, there's homesickness.
This is my younger brother,
And on the other, the ambition to successfully finish their studies in Germany.
That's me now going to grab the paper.
Frank Kalenzinje says his family is proud he's able to take this course, although he adds that their expectations are now quite high.
It would not make sense for me just to, after this course, I stay behind. To me, my conscience really pulls me back. So I would love as much as possible to go back home and still contribute something.
They've already finished some of their exams, and now they plan to enjoy their summer in Berlin.